All right, so what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be discussing the 5 things that I absolutely love about my 2003 Porsche Boxster S, or, in Porsche lingo, chassis number 986. That's what this body style is called. So, I've had the car ever since about July of 2020. Currently, it's February of 2021. And, honestly, I love everything about this car. There's a lot of things that, make me just want to keep the car forever. I am going to make a separate video because there are minor things, and I can't stress this enough, they are very minor, that bug me because, there's every car has things that bug people. But today's video is going to be about the things that I love. So let's go ahead and start with number 1. So number 1 of this part of the video is the driving feel. That's probably my favorite thing about this car. The way this car drives and the way it feels on the road is like nothing else I've ever owned. Now, yeah, you can be like, well, it's a sports car, of course it feels good. Well, yes and no. This I feel like back when it came out, in its category, was probably the best sports car you could buy. It's a mid-engined, flat 6, rear-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual. It doesn't get any better than that, pretty much. The car, the way it is on the road is it's so planted, it feels like it's on rails. I've been around Red Rock, around here, around Vegas, and you can take turns at 50, 60, probably even maybe more than that, miles an hour with your foot planted on the throttle, and you don't have to let go because the car just feels like it's not, it doesn't want to slide. And now, I've noticed that a few times that I've tried to mess around with the car. Like, I've gone to some parking lots, and it's really hard to try to spin this car because, one, of the wide tires that it has in the back. Like I've said, it has 265s in the rear. They're pretty big tires for a small car like this, so it has grip constantly. The only issue that I have with grip is because mine are summer tires, and they're ultra performance summer tires. When it rains and when it gets pretty cold outside, the car will slide. Like, if you take a turn and you floor it, it'll slide because, they're summer tires. But when it gets hot outside and it's not wet, the car is insane. I mean, like, you can go full throttle into a turn and it won't slide. It just grips. And, yeah, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, of course it does. That's a mid-engine car. Well, I've driven some other cars that they'll slide if you push them too hard. So the second part to this video is actually one that a lot of people are gonna be like, well, whatever, but it's the sound that this car makes. And let me show you guys what I mean. So that sounds pretty damn good if you ask me. I said it in the review, and I'll continue to say it for as long as I live. If you do one thing before you die, drive a naturally aspirated flat 6 manual Porsche. You will not regret it. It doesn't matter if it's a Boxster or a 911. They both sound out of this world. And from that little video that you guys heard, that's the stock exhaust of this car. I haven't done anything to this car. I haven't done that mod where they drill holes into the muffler or anything. No, this is the stock exhaust that the car came with when you bought it new in 2003. Now, there are a lot of aftermarket options. Well, no, I actually shouldn't say that. Correct me. There are not a lot of aftermarket options. The biggest one is Fab Speed. And some of their exhausts range from like 1,200 to about 2,500. And from, videos I've seen on YouTube, it doesn't sound that much different to my car. Now, before you start telling me in the comments, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I've never heard a car with a 5-speed exhaust, a Boxster 986, in person. I've only seen them on camera. So there are a lot of times the camera won't pick up the actual sound of the vehicle. So I could be wrong, but from what I have heard, it sounds exactly like my car. So I don't know if I can justify paying $2,000 for something that's not going to change the sound of my car. So that's just my 2 cents. But I think one of these days I will absolutely go with an aftermarket exhaust. I just have to make up my mind on what I want. Moving on to part 3, or the third thing I love about this car so much is the luggage space. Now, I'm not talking about the interior or, you know, in here. I'm talking about, since this is a mid-engine vehicle and, you know, the engine is right here behind the rear seats, you have a front trunk, and you have a rear trunk. And let me go ahead and demonstrate what those look like to you. This is the front trunk. Now, excuse the mess that's in here, but as you guys can see, if you remove the spare tire, you can fit a lot of things in here. And even with the spare tire in place, I've fit a good amount of things in here. You know, I fit a bunch of groceries in here, and I didn't even have to use the rear trunk. Excuse the wind. But, you know, you could probably fit like a small carry-on suitcase in here, maybe a couple of them. I don't think you're gonna fit a big one in here though, just because it's not, you know, that wide. But honestly, for the small car it is, this is a good amount of space. And like I said, if you remove the spare tire, you can fit a lot of things in here. So let's go ahead and get to the rear one. You're gonna have to excuse the mess again, but this is the rear trunk. So as you guys can see, this is a, you know, it's smaller than the front, but you can still fit a good amount of things in here. I have some rags and whatnot, but you can probably fit another small carry-on in here actually. And I know that somebody in one of my previous comments, somebody said that they fit a golf bag in one of these. I'm not sure if it was the front here. So I guess you can fit a golf bag because it is pretty wide. It goes in there and it goes into there. So I wouldn't doubt that. Now, moving on to the fourth thing that I love about this car is the price. Now, I still have yet to make a video of me discussing, you know, when I bought the car, how I got the car, what I paid for it, what went into fixing it, because as you guys remember, I said in the review, this used to be a salvage title vehicle. It currently has a rebuilt title, but at one point in its life, it was salvaged. So, you know, that's why I got it for so cheap. But if you don't want to deal with salvage title, and I understand there are people out there that, you know, salvage titles for them mean the car is garbage, it's done. I think that, you know, as long as it can be rebuilt, there's a chance. Now, you know, if you bought a clean car, like let's say this car right here, I have said this car is actually 1 mile away from turning into 93,000 miles. It is a 2-owner and it has been meticulously maintained at Porsche Beverly Hills. So it has great service history, it has great, you know, ownership experience and everything. And it's like overall in great condition aside from, you know, where it was hit. Now, a car like this would probably retail for around 12 or 13 if it was a clean title. And it is a facelifted Boxster, so it's the second generation of the 986 generation, and it's an S. So, you know, there is a big price difference between a regular Boxster and a Boxster S, because the S gets the bigger motor. As I said, this one has a 3.2 flat 6. The regular one in 2003 had a 2.7 with around, I think, like 225 horsepower. This car makes about 270. So yeah, I mean, you know, there is a big price jump between a regular Boxster and an S, and especially there is a big jump if you start discussing automatic or manual. Porsche enthusiasts love their manual transmissions, and if you can, you know, like best example I can say, a 996, which is basically the same generation as this Boxster is, 996 911 turbo, a manual version of that car is probably, I want to say, like $10,000 more expensive than an automatic version. And they're both great cars. It's just the manual is a much better car to drive, because back in the day, Porsche didn't have, you know, the PDK transmissions, the dual clutch transmissions. They had just a regular 5-speed automatic that it wasn't meant for that car. So that's something you have to take into consideration when you're looking at a Boxster, is that if you want a manual, you're going to pay the manual, you know, upcharge. People ask more for the manuals just because it's a better driving car. And when I bought this, I went into it in mind that I want a manual S. I didn't want a regular one, and I didn't want an S with an automatic, because you can buy a Boxster S with an auto. But I'm telling you right now, if you do that, you're going to be making a mistake, because the automatic, you know, sure, it is a good transmission. It's a, they have the, what do they call them, the Tiptronic, where you can shift it from the wheel, you know, those little buttons. But at the end of the day, it's just a ZF 5-speed. It's pretty much the same transmission that's in a Mercedes. So it's, you know, it's not going to be quick shifting. It's going to shift a little slower. Whereas the manual, you know, it gives you that driver experience that you're looking for when you buy one of these cars. But, you know, everybody's different. It just depends on what you're looking for. So, like I said, this car right here is a 2003 Boxster S with a manual transmission, with fantastic service history, with, you know, relatively low miles for the year. And this car probably worth like 12 or 13 if I had a clean title. But if you, you know, don't want to spend that much, you could get a beat up one. You could always get one that's, you know, had some sketchy past, which in my opinion is kind of better because then the car has a story. It's not just been babied its whole life. But, you know, you could probably find them for like maybe 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. The pre-facelifted ones you could probably get for like 6 or 7, like a Boxster S with higher miles. But if you want a facelifted one, I have noticed that they are, you know, there's a good amount of price difference between the facelifted cars and the non. Just because when these came out originally in 97, a lot of people didn't like the way they looked, the running egg headlights and all the other BS. But, you know, whatever your preference is, you can't go wrong with a Boxster S. Or, you know, maybe even a regular Boxster. I have yet to drive one, but I've heard they're great cars as well. This is a fantastic sports car, and it's a great car to drive. And now, you know, with the magic of the depreciation, these were like $50,000, $60,000 cars new. Now you could pick one up for like 8. You know, that's a lot of money that's just gone with the wind, I guess you can say, because of depreciation in the years that have passed. So, yeah. So the fifth thing and the final thing that I want to, you know, that I love about this car, and, you know, there's a lot more, but I've only picked 5 for now, is the simplicity that this car offers. You know, you guys can go back and look at the review. In this interior, it's very basic. You have 3 sets of gauges. You have a tach, you have a speedo, you have your coolant temp, and your gas gauge. That's it. There isn't anything that, you know, that's, you know, buttons everywhere like some of the new Porsches have. There's buttons you don't know what they do. There's some stuff. Sure, there's, you know, some buttons that are missing, like on the dash here, because it's not a 911, and, you know, they reuse the 911 stuff. But you have a radio, you know, you have your climate controls, and that's it. You know, it's you, the shifter, the pedals, and the car, and you drive. There isn't a computer system that's constantly monitoring you, that's trying to, you know, tell you how to drive, what you're doing, you know, this BS, ABS. This car does not have traction control. And I'm not saying there's no, you know, oh, you can turn it off. No. There is no traction control to start off with. This car just doesn't come with it. It does have ABS, but that's it. There's no traction control. And as far as I know, there's no stability control. Even the earlier cars, I believe they didn't even have ABS. I could be wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the earlier Boxsters didn't even have ABS. So this is a very stripped down sports car, and it's fantastic. It's, you know, it's great. It's you, the shifter, the pedals, and the car. That's it. You drive. You know, you enjoy it, and this car will teach you how to become a better driver, because it doesn't hold your hand. It pretty much puts you in the seat and it says, let's go, let's drive. So that's the final thing I really love about this car, is that it's so simplistic and it's not overdone. There isn't buttons everywhere. It's not confusing. There isn't screens and, you know, messages to tell you how your car's doing or not. There's none of that. You have a speedo, you have a tach that shows your miles, and then you have a clock, which is on the same tach as, it's on the same, you know, gauge as the coolant temp and the gas gauge. That's it. And it's fantastic. You know, you have pretty much manual reclining seats, or no, not manual reclining, they're electronic reclining, but they're manual front and back seats. You can move them front and back, and that's it. You can't, you know, you can't move them. There's no 18-way power seats like some of the new Boxsters have. And while that's all great, it kind of takes away from the driving experience of the car. You know, one of the reasons I ended up going with a Boxster is because I wanted that, you know, analog driving feel, but I also didn't want to go with a car that's really old. And this car kind of goes down right in the middle. It has, you know, modern amenities to where you can live with them in 2021 now, but it's also not so new to where it holds your hand, you know, every time you drive it. So that's one thing I want to leave you guys with. Those are my 5 things that I love about my Porsche Boxster. Let me know if you guys have one. Let me know in the comments what you think of them. You know, do you like them? Do you hate them? Because I will be coming out with a video probably next week of the 5 things I don't like about this car. And, you know, like I said, I love this car to death, but there are minor things that bug me, and it's every car. You know, I've never owned a car that's been perfect, because if there's a car that's perfect, you know, everybody would buy it and we'd never have to buy anything else. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the Boxster. If you have a Boxster, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. But yeah, stay tuned for the video where we're gonna talk about things I don't like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.